Hi, everyone. This is Brittnee Bond, and welcome back to the podcast. As you can see, we have our animals with us. Afro just jumped off the bed, and this is my lovely friend, Alaska. Hi,
Hello.
Alaska.
Hi, Brittnee. I feel like every time I start a podcast, I want to do it exactly how you do it.
She has a podcast, by the way.
Hello, this is Brittnee Bond.
Hi, this is Brittnee Bond. Welcome
Sometimes I
back to
literally answer the phone to Brittnee like that. I'm like, hello, this is Brittnee Bond.
And this is her lovely baby, Zita, if you're watching visually.
Yes.
Zita is basically an angel in a dog
Oh
form.
my God, she's literally like the best dog in the world. If there's any dog in the world that should have children, it's Sita.
Is she fixed already, though?
Of course.
Yeah.
Adopt, don't shop.
Yeah.
Spay and neuter. Sorry, I got to get that in there early.
Yeah. So Zita, Alaska and I have known each other. How long have we known each other?
So maybe going on 9 months.
We met each other at the waterfall. My ex-boyfriend and I were in a huge fight. And who was it? I think he went first.
No,
wait. Tell the story.
So the story
I
was,
don't remember the story.
I was asking for. So I was new to the island, and I was looking for like recommendations on where I should go with my dog, because sometimes it can be a little weird with the other dogs that are in the area.
Yeah,
so
sometimes
I was
they're
like,
attacky.
yeah.
So
I was like, where can I go? And Brittnee was like, you should go up to the waterfall, but you can go all the way to the top, and there's no dogs, and you'll be sweet.
So this was in a group chat.
In a group
my
chat.
community chat. Yeah. So we didn't know each other personally. I just was giving
Nothing.
recommendation.
And then I think about half an hour later was like, okay, I'm down. I'm going to go. So I went to the waterfall, and I saw you at the entrance. You were at that guy's house. Like,
my friend lives
hello.
at the bottom of the waterfall. Yeah.
And I went up. Afro kind of freaked out at Sita, and I was like, oh, perfect. I went exactly where she told me, and her dog attacked mine. Amazing.
It happens sometimes.
So we went up to the waterfall and was kind of like trudging up there, and then came across a guy who I guess I introduced myself to because I was asking about where I should go on the waterfall. And then we just started talking. So I went down to the little spot because that's where I knew where there was water. And I started talking to your ex-partner.
We were dating at the time.
Yeah, your partner at the time. I didn't know this. I didn't know that they were connected at all. And so we were just chatting about nothing. And then Brittnee came over the mountain. Over the mountain. And arrived into the space, and like the tension.
Oh my God,
the tension. And then we were we were like having a conversation as a three-way. I could feel the tension. I could feel the energy had shifted, but I was just kind of like, okay. And I don't know what we were talking about, but then I think I asked about hearing about your love story. And it was just like your ex-partner was telling the story of your love, and you were just like, could not have been less impressed in those moments, unfortunately.
Because we were in like the biggest fight, and he was acting like such a child. And then he was trying to present our relationship as if we're like the best couple ever. And I was like,
yeah.
I'm sitting here. I wish I was in that relationship.
Babe, I know. And actually, what was so funny was when you were having a reaction to that, I really had this sensation of like, I recognize this man so much because your ex is a lot like my ex. Like, a lot. And sometimes when he would also talk and tell about our love story, I would be like, whose relationship are you describing?
Like, are we even in the same dimension?
Yes. And I think that's also one of the things. It's like the being in the same dimension, the sharing of the reality was another big one.
Important.
It's vital. It's everything.
I didn't even know that it was so important, because for me it was such a given in my past relationships until this relationship where I was like, we're not even sharing the same reality. Like, we're in the same room having the same relationship and having very different realities about what's happening. Like, how can it be so different?
Wow, I don't know, because that was such a big one for me as well. Like, I remember having that in my relationship and just being like, we do not agree about like the literal things that are happening. So how can we ever move forward in the things that we're struggling with, because we don't have that shared basis of like, this is the truth of what's happening. And if you don't have a shared reality, you cannot move forward. Like, it's literally impossible.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to, I'm like putting myself in the minds of the listeners, and they're like, what do you mean by shared reality? Can we give them an example? Do you have an example of you and your ex and like something that happened?
Sometimes I'm going to give like a pretty intense example. Sometimes my partner and I would be having arguments, and he would do something. Maybe he would like lash out, or he would be getting big and aggressive, or getting loud was a big one, where he would be like getting really loud and I would be like, whoa, this is getting too much. And he would be like, no, you got loud at me and you made the energy go up and you made it be so that I felt uncomfortable. And I really was like, wait, what? Like, did I? Wait, and I would get really confused.
Babe,
because
that's gaslighting.
I'm aware now. I did not have language for that back then. You know what I mean? Like,
so
I
like
didn't
you were
have
literally
language.
being put like as if you were the aggressor.
Yes.
But
yeah.
he was actually being the one who was aggressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being
for
aggressive.
Sure. But if you have that when you are in a relationship that's like, you know, when you have that stress and like that cycle, that toxic cycle of like, oh, and then things get out of hand and get a little wild and scary, then all of a sudden, like, if you don't have a shared reality of who is the instigator of that, how do you begin to heal that? Like, it's not possible.
Yeah, it's like, how do you take responsibility if half of the parties in the situation are not aware of what they're even doing?
Absolutely.
And they're projecting it onto you?
Absolutely.
It's kind of just like, it's like trying to reason with a crazy person.
Totally.
You know, because
Totally.
like they're like, no, this is what happened. You're like, but that's so I grew up with someone like that. This is my father. And there was many times in my life where he would literally rewrite the story of what happened in the situation. Like, no, you did this, you did that. And I was like, but there's literal witnesses. So I started to get to this is why I went into law, because like so much of my growing up with my religion and with my father, where it was like they were just putting their reality onto me and it was at their agenda and what they wanted. And I thought I was going crazy for most of my life, you know? And I think actually this is a scopic example, a small example of what is happening collectively. I think in the feminine psyche for thousands of years, we have been gaslit that like, we are not as powerful, we are not as smart, we are not as strong. Oh. And so right now as a collective, it's just coming out this kind of like
rage.
Yes.
Collective rage.
Sacred
Welcome.
rage is what I would call it. Yeah. Because it's like totally warranted. And also, I feel that there's a way that we can channel this rage that is actually empowering for the whole collective.
Absolutely.
Because like getting angry at the masculine, like, so for instance, I could get upset at every single man in my life because of my dad. And I did that for many years. And then I went to therapy and then I realized like, don't project this onto people. Absolutely. But then like, I recognize that we attract in people who remind us of this original trauma because we want to heal it. We want to have this corrective experience. So I also took responsibility that I attracted in and chose to be in a relationship with this man who was gaslighting me and a child and like all these things. And all of my friends were like, what the fuck are you doing with this guy? Totally. You know? But then a lot of them didn't even see what was happening behind the scenes. They just heard me complaining about him, but he was being really nice to their face and, you know, very charming and can say all the right things. And they don't understand what happens like behind closed doors.
I mean,
you know?
100%. Whenever you think you know somebody because you know them yourself as in a friendship level, never assume that you understand who they are in a relationship.
Yeah, because our traumas come out.
That's where all of our traumas really come out, like in such force. Like, wow, you're so vulnerable because you're like, I really want to have this relationship. I want somebody to love me. I want to belong. I want to be chosen. And so all of a sudden you can't hold up that mask that you might be able to that you might be able to hold for the world, because in the world you can be like, I'm this fun person, I'm this confident person,
like
I
present
can
yourself,
look at me go. But like then you get into a relationship where you're like looking at this person, you're like, if you don't choose me, I'm gonna die. I won't be safe. I'll be extradited from the tribe, and I'm afraid of that. And so, wow, like all of those traumas come up, and wow, it just makes people so different inside of relationships. Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Afro was barking. So I also want to say that I'm like not villainizing my ex. I think that like sometimes we can become these like worst parts of ourselves in a relationship because that also wants to come out and be healed, you know?
Absolutely.
But like we all need to take responsibility. I think the thing that makes me sad about my last relationship is I don't feel like my ex actually took a lot of the responsibility. Like he said sorry and then he took it back. And then like, you know, he said shit about me online, and then like the sorry is not an
The
authentic.
podcast wars.
Yeah, the podcast wars. They continue. No. I'm over the podcast
You
wars.
can just do your podcast in a different language as well, then. It'll be fine. Do you know any other languages?
Spanish, a
Okay.
a little Thai. Sawadee ka. Fan Kanchan.
Mucho bien, no?
Okay, so
I think this
Yeah, what
is
were you
also
gonna
a really important part, because I talk a lot about my ex-partner, and I talk a lot about my last relationship, and I always come back to the point that like no matter what was happening in that relationship, I was the one choosing it.
oh
Like,
my God, yeah.
I was the
we
one
are
that
so
was
powerful.
having it stay in my reality, and there was no red lines for me. And like, what did that say about who I was at that moment in my life? Like, I was not aware of what I was choosing. I was not aware I could walk away. I was not in my power. I was not loving myself. I didn't feel worthy of something else. And so like all of these things meant that I remained in a relationship where these things were true. And like, while that is an important part of it, like my partner did certain things and was a certain version of himself, I was the one that ultimately was choosing it. And like, that responsibility is actually a beautiful thing.
Because we are actually
can walk away.
powerful. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think like a lot of these relationships, and this can happen also to a man, you know, like if you're in a relationship that is unhealthy for you, you have the opportunity to choose self-empowerment by walking away.
Absolutely.
And saying like, I deserve better. This is how I felt in my last, I said, I deserve better than this. This is below my standards. I deserve to be treated better than this. But really, this is all a big relationship with ourselves.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like
the giantest mirror.
yeah, it's just like basically I'm saying to the universe, no, I actually love myself more than what the situation is. And no, thank you. I'm going to move on.
Absolutely.
I'd rather be by myself than be in this relationship,
Absolutely.
you know?
I think sometimes it feels like if you're going to leave a relationship, the choice is like, I can either leave this relationship and be absolutely miserable alone for the rest of my life.
So dramatic.
Right? Or I can choose to stay in this relationship that kind of sucks and that I'm like not really feeling like
you're
I'm getting the love I
settling.
want, but like I'll stay here because like at least somebody is choosing me. I have that external validation of the world. Like people will think I'm good because I'm chosen, you know?
Fuck the good girl archetype. Oh my God. I am so over that.
But it's so embedded in us. And I think like until you become aware of how embedded that good girl is in our society and what society wants from us, you might not even recognize that that is what is happening.
So
in
to
your
be
life.
a good girl is to basically be submissive, go along with whatever a guy wants, not speak up about your actual needs, not stick up for what you need. Not
and even deeper than that, it's like it's in all of your life. It's not only just in relationship. It's like it's everywhere in your life. It's like you make less money, you're not as powerful, you don't get good things. Like a big one for me was like, I need a man to buy a house.
you need a man to get what you want in your life.
Yeah, essentially. But like I always made more than my partners, but there was something about like this deep belief that in order for me to buy a house, have something big in my life that I wanted, I needed a man to do it. And so I think that was one of the reasons it felt.
Wait, so the belief was that you weren't allowed to do it on your own? I don't know what was the
I
actual
don't know
belief?
if that I wasn't allowed or that I wouldn't be capable.
But in what way would you not be capable? I'm just curious. Like you literally couldn't pay for it, or you wouldn't understand how to do it. Like let's break this down.
I feel like none of these, this belief was not grounded in reality.
Okay.
This belief was grounded in the kind of like swirl of women are not as good, patriarchal thinking
Like
that
you
the
need a man
world
to
had
take care of you.
Like I need a man to be able to make it in the world. Yeah, for sure.
Whew.
Yeah.
Well, I think because I left my religion and my dad, like I left my dad when I was 17, like left the situation, and I left my religion when I was 24. I really went out in the world running the other extreme from this. I was just like, fuck this. I'm going to be as powerful as I can. I'm going to do whatever I want. But I was like really putting myself in my masculine energy.
Yeah.
And I think this is also what a lot of women do. They feel like if they're not going to be this wounded feminine archetype of just like, just wait for a man to save me and I'm a princess, I need my knight in shining, then they go the other extreme where they're like, fuck men, I hate men, I can do everything myself. And I don't think that's healthy either, you know, because I was in that archetype for a long. I wasn't hating men, but I was like, I'm going to do everything on my own.
Totally.
I'm going to pay for everything on my own. I'm going to, you know, travel the world. I'm going to do it on my own. And even when I was in a partnership, I had a really hard time receiving from men. Like I remember the first man I was ever really in love with, his name is Oz, and he's Turkish, but he grew up in London, and he made really good money as a software developer, like traveling. Like he got a job in a tech startup in San Francisco and was making like 250K US, you know, and we were living in Bali. And he was like, you know, where it's like very cheap, especially like in 2016, you know, and he was just like, you don't have to work. Like, you want to write this book? Here, I will give you money every month and I'll pay for everything. And I had such a hard time receiving that. I felt like almost disempowered by it. And he had the best of intentions. He was like, literally do whatever you want. Like, I want to empower you. You want to start a business? You want to like, here, just do whatever you want. And I was like, no.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, for a while I tried to write the book, but I felt like almost writer's block because I was having a really hard time. Basically, I was having a hard time receiving it energetically. And so the energy wasn't flowing. And then I ended up sabotaging that relationship. I got with another guy while we were dating. Like, I kissed him, but then I told him, my partner, and then, you know, we're both Scorpios. He's the one where we're
get out.
Yeah, we were like same birthday, month, day, and year.
Oh, amazing.
And I know, like, if someone did that to me, I would be like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah,
you know?
for
like,
sure. Yeah. I mean, I actually really resonate with you. And I think this is why the conditioning that women get is so sneaky, because I held this belief that I needed a man to be successful or like get the things I wanted in my life. But I was also in the same archetype as you, which was like, I can do everything myself, super independent, going out there into the world and getting everything myself, like working as a DJ, working as an interior designer, like had my own businesses, couldn't receive a goddamn thing from anyone.
Because
like,
it's vulnerable to receive.
Because it's so vulnerable. It's vulnerable to need, I think. That was what it was for me. Like, I couldn't need something, because if I couldn't need something, then I wasn't being like the helper, the fixer, the saver to you. And I think for me, I was like, what's strange is that like there's so many things that feel inconsistent with like what I'm saying about this story. And that's why I think it can be so confusing if you're experiencing something like this, because it's like hyper independent, doing things in the world, living an unconventional life, need a man to be successful, choosing really wounded men that need help. Like, none of it makes consistent sense. And so when you kind of start looking around at your relationship and your life, you're like, wait, what? Like, it's not consistent. So that's why I think it's so sneaky. And that's why it can take a lot of untangling all of these different parts of like, oh, this is the wounded part that's over here, and this is this other part of me that doesn't want to receive. And there's so many different aspects of self where it's like they're competing almost. And that's why it can be really confusing when you're at the beginning of your healing journey, because it's like, wow, where do I even begin? Like,
yeah, and that's why I recently have really enjoyed something called internal family systems therapy. So it's called IFS. You can Google it. And this is somatic therapy, where it's like, you know, it's talking therapy, but it's literally talking to your subconscious, your psyche. So what she's explaining right now is basically you can have a part of yourself that was like traumatized when you were a kid that created a negative belief that it's not safe to receive. And then you can have another part of you that is, you know, programmed as a child also, or whenever, but that like women are not as powerful as men or something. Yeah. And then you, in your subconscious, you can have at different times, different parts of these parts of your psyche vying for attention and needing to get their needs met.
Absolutely.
So you can be like, I need to have a man take care of me, but it's not safe to receive. And then it's like, which version of you is showing up that day?
Absolutely.
It's going to like
that hour.
That hour, that moment is going to get its needs met.
Absolutely.
And so if you're not conscious or you're not doing the work to like, basically the goal is to have all of these parts integrated into a whole, like I'm literally with my hands, like bringing them into alignment. With your body, with your psyche, and bringing them into the conscious part of your psyche. So they can still be part of you. They can still get their needs met, or you can heal the negative beliefs so that you don't need to keep recreating that story, because we literally are recreating our reality. Like if you have a negative belief about something, you're going to attract that situation in, because what you believe, what you believe is what's going to create your reality. And if you have a negative belief, it wants to be healed. So it's going to bring the situation into your life, and then it's going to create a loop.
Absolutely.
And then you have the opportunity to say, I don't want to do this anymore, or you're going to loop again, and then it's going to happen again.
Evolve or repeat. That's what I always say. I'm like, you have two choices in your life at any time when you're having a hard like a breakup, for example, or like a really difficult situation with a friend or your parents or something. It's just looping, because there's this thing inside of you that wants to be seen. It wants to be brought to the surface so that you can actually heal it and allow yourself to move on from it and create a different reality after that. And I think that's why like doing things like internal family systems, parts work, work, as it's often known, is like so powerful because we can think that we know everything. You know, we have this idea that, well, I can start to understand everything. Like I can tell the story and connect the dots, and then I'll be able to change things. But
in your conscious psyche,
in your conscious mind. But so much of what's actually happening in your life is happening from choices you're making from the subconscious, like 95% of the time.
It's like running the show and you're like, it's fine.
100%. It's like that you know that meme? The fire. He's like, this is fine.
There's a guy sitting in a house and it's on fire and he's like, it's fine. It's fine.
Literally that. And that's why I think for me, the change in my life really started to happen when I was doing more subconscious work, more somatic work, because I was incredible at therapy. Like I was like a gold star therapy student. I could tell you the story. I could connect the dots. I could tell you what it was related to in my relationship with my parents, like gold star all the way. But I didn't feel a goddamn thing. Like I was never dealing with what it felt like to be lost or have grief or be abandoned or feel like people didn't love me or there was no space for me. Like I was just telling the narrative of it.
Yeah.
And that was that's a very different thing. Like that is not, it's beautiful and it's a necessary part of healing, but that is not the completion of healing. That is the awareness of now what you need to work on somatically.
And here's what you need to heal, but you need to actually go do the healing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because like I used to look forward to therapy when I was doing like like what's normal standard therapy where you're talking? Talk therapy. Yeah, I was doing talk therapy. But when I have this somatic therapy, this IFS therapy now, I literally dread it.
Oh,
like I will get like a stomach ache. I will start trying to like, I can feel my subconscious is trying to make up a reason why I shouldn't do it. And I said this to my therapist. I was like, it's so interesting. I've always looked like excited about therapy. It's going to help me. Cause like, I was like a gold star. Like we can do this. I understand my psyche.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't tell you how many people tell me this, that they're like, they want to cancel. But it's because
they sleep in. I have a lot of clients that will like sleep in. They'll like accidentally forget their sessions, or they will just like be like, oh, I don't know, something. And then you're like, no, actually what's happening is your body is reacting and like pushing things in front of you to distance you from the healing that's so necessary for this part. This part is so desperately afraid of being seen and maybe removed, because this part also feels like it's keeping you safe. It feels like it's doing you a service in some way.
Yeah, that's what I love about the IFS is that there's these protector parts of us that really have kept us safe for most of our life, and we have to honor those and like create space and safety for them so that they can step aside and we can heal these wounded parts of ourselves. So I want to give a little pitch to you that tell everyone what you do for work.
So my work is as a love, sex, and relationship coach, but I work predominantly with women who are moving through heartbreak in their life. And I really work with them to step into a new version of themselves, to really reinvent themselves. And I work predominantly with somatics, so working through the body, working through the subconscious, and also a lot through sexuality. Because like all of this healing that we do, it doesn't need to be just like sitting in a chair and crying and like being really like, oh man, my life sucks. Like it's actually about getting back in connection with your body. And it's such a beautiful way to go through sensuality and sexuality, because it's your connection to the whole world. And it's also one of the places where women particularly have been shamed so much and really taught to shut themselves down. And so that shutdown is also mirrored out in your world. And so when you can go into your body,
just getting some water.
When you can go into your body, especially inside of your sexuality, you can really allow yourself to connect with these deepest parts of yourself, like the things you need, the things you want, your dreams, your desires, your boundaries, your standards is a huge one.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. And so this work is like so goddamn beautiful. And it's like, it includes a lot of the things that you're talking about, parts work, IFS. Just like getting back into your body and getting back in connection with the truth of you rather than the version of yourself that you've been taught to be by the world.
Yeah. And I think that like it's so important for this kind of work. Like something I've really been downloading recently is like how powerful we actually are, so powerful. And most of the things in the world can be healed if us women just allowed ourselves to reclaim our power.
Absolutely.
Like,
mic drop.
I was actually talking to, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm about to say the story. So I was talking to a woman that came to one of our play parties. So Alaska is on my team. She's one of my core women who run the play parties with me. And this woman came to a play party and she told me afterwards, she's like, she actually in the middle of the play party, she came up to me in the tea room and she was like, Brittnee, you ladies are doing such powerful work. This is so needed. She's like, I feel so powerful right now and almost overwhelmed by how powerful I feel. And I said to her, I leaned in and I was like, yeah, so what are you going to do with all that power? And she's like, yeah, that's the scary part is like, she said, I think this is why a lot of women subconsciously hide from it, because when you realize how powerful you are, it's time to go out in the world and be seen.
Absolutely.
And like do the thing that your like soul mission is.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot easier to be like this good girl and hide behind a man and just, be quiet and soft and subservient. It's a lot harder or challenging or opportunity for growth to like really step in your power and just claim space.
Absolutely.
Take up space, do what you need to do in your life, because now you're really playing the game of life. And what if you fail? It's
Absolutely.
but if you don't do that, then you're literally, what is the point of living? You're not even here playing the game. You're just like being, I call them NPCs. So like
non-player characters.
So like in a video game, like there's like the computer generated characters in the game and sometimes you interact with them, but they're called non-playing characters, NPCs. And I'm telling you, most of the people in the world, not even just women, but men, they're choosing to not really play the game of life. They're not stepping into their full sovereignty and their full power. And so they're not like I look at them and I'm like, are you fully here? And like literally, I don't think a lot of times they're fully switched on because they're choosing to turn off parts of themselves.
Totally. I think there's also this part of us though that we don't know what we don't know until we know it. You know what I mean? Like I look back at myself even like 3 years ago and like there was a part of me that was such a playing character. Like I was doing really big things in the world, but there was also always a cap on it. There was like a cap because truly in who I wasn't truly connected to my power. I was connected to the masculine hustle, and I'm a Virgo, so I can make shit happen. I'm a middle child. Like I can get attention. I can do all the things, but I felt like I was always capping myself in my world about how far I could actually go.
You mean capping as in like limiting yourself?
Limiting myself. Yeah, for sure. Like I could get to a certain level, but it would never be quite where I wanted to go. Or I would be really successful, but I wouldn't be having the financial abundance that I wanted. I would be like having a relationship, but was it the relationship I wanted? No. So, and I think that had so much to do with like not actually holding those standards and boundaries of the powerful woman that I am now, right? Because when you actually step into your power, when you step into the version of yourself that you're truly meant to be, there's a different energy with that because it will require you to say no to things that are below the standard, right? And I think sometimes that's the thing where we can hold difficulty with because we get something that's like, I think we were having this conversation the other day with somebody you were seeing and I was like, is it the person or is it a test? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it the person?
I was just thinking that as you said.
Is it the person that is for you, or is this a test to see if you will actually go the extra mile for the love you truly want?
Yeah. So like, are you going to hold your standards of like, this is how I choose to be treated. This is who I choose to be with. Yeah. Or are you just going to accept whatever is given to you? And
Absolutely.
I think most women, especially, maybe also men, but I would say especially women are just like, I guess this is fine. Yeah. And I'm like, wake up. That's what, a lot of women tell me they listen to my podcast and they fucking wake up. Yeah. They're like, I have a woman tell me, they're like, I listen to your podcast and I just go out and I just feel so like empowered. I need to do something with this energy. And I'm like, get it, girl. But I was thinking about this, like, especially in like the connections I've been having recently, because I feel like every man that comes in is like a little bit closer to what I want, a little bit more in tune with their emotions, a little bit like more hot, like whatever, all the things, tall, hot, like,
We're going to be at 7 foot soon, guys.
I have a preference. I like tall men.
No, I was listening to one of your podcasts and you were like, he was 200 meters. And I was like, oh my God, girl. Like, I know you mean centimeters, but like.
I'm from America, okay?
The visual of this is insane.
You're not the only one who's called that out. They were like, Brittnee, do you not know measurements?
I was
I'm
just laughing.
I grew up in feet.
No,
okay?
yeah, me too. I use feet and inches also, which is weird because I don't use them for anything else.
But weren't you from Ireland?
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is so dumb. This sounds so dumb. I used to believe that feet and inches was only the measurement of height. I did not know that you guys used it for other things because it doesn't make any sense. And I grew up in Canada, by the way, also.
Oh, fuck.
You know that.
I know that, but I just like your Irish roots better. So I feel like I connected on those. I just like blank out the rest of your life. I'm like, you're Irish.
Okay. I'll take it, whatever.
You know, because we need to go to Ireland together.
Yeah,
and
we do.
Because she's always saying that, like, oh, these fucking, like, foreigners come in there, like, I need to find my Irish roots. I'm like, but that's literally me.
And I was like, it's different. Because I like you, I guess. But I need to cough.
So I did a DNA test, and I...
Of course you did.
Irish.
American. Do they, like, give them out when you get into the airport in the States? They, like, give you a DNA test?
But really, how does it feel? Like, I grew up there 10 generations. I don't know where I'm from. I want to have some, like, heritage. Like, most other countries, they have, like, actual cultural heritage.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Thousands of years.
100%.
You know, like, us Americans, we're just, like, fucking mutts, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows what we are? But yeah, so you know, height, like the guy that came over last night, he had a duck because I have like the pull-up.
Yeah.
I sometimes like, did you just duck?
Oh,
Like,
so hot.
he like doesn't realize it. I'm like, yes.
I love this. I actually felt like that last night. I was at a market, and you know how like in Thailand, all of the stalls are really low. Like they have this stuff really low because Thai people are quite short. And I was like, wow, I'm so tall because I was like banging my head off the jewelry and hats that were hanging. I literally thought it to myself. I was like, I am so tall. I'm not tall. I'm 5'5", 5'5" and a half.
What is that in centimeters?
I don't use it for centimeters, but it's 165, 166.
Okay.
What are you?
175 centimeters.
But who uses that measurement? Europeans. My ex-boyfriend was Swedish, and he used to use centimeters.
Yeah, I think the rest of the world is.
Everyone except us.
Yeah, Canadians use feet?
I think they use feet and inches for height, but not for anything else. We use the metric system for everything else.
None of this makes any sense. Okay, let's just
It doesn't
let
matter.
this go.
Sorry.
So,
This is no longer the math.
tangent,
The math.
tangent we're going on. So I wanted to talk to you, like, you know, as my relationship coach or something.
As the dating coach guiding you through all of these men. Is he in or is he out? Yeah.
Like, no, let's put this on the podcast.
On pause.
Because, like, you know, I haven't had sex since September. So, you know, this is the longest I've gone without having sex. Girl?
Same girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to share how long it's been for you?
It has been almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How does that feel?
How does it feel? It actually, when I came out of my relationship, I had a lot of healing to do. And for me specifically, one of the ways that my own struggles with myself manifested was in my sex life. In a way that I would show up in my sex life very numb. I could not feel anything. I had no connection to my body. I was really like only living from the head up. And so the manifestation of that in my sex life was that I was having incredibly performative sex where I was just, my partner wanted an open relationship. So I was always feeling like this sense of like, I need to be the most sexual, the most like in pleasure, like just we need to be having the best sex because I am trying to keep him away from other women, like was my thought process. Not healthy. It was not good. Don't do it. But that was my thought process. And so I was having very performative sex where I was really out of connection with myself. And it really ended up being very much the manifestation of my own unworthiness and lack of self-love, lack of connection to myself. And so when I came out of that relationship, the healing that I did really centered around my sexuality. I mean, a lot of subconscious work as well with all of the things that were happening underneath that. But I really went into my sexuality as like this microcosm of healing where I could go and like get back in connection with my body and start to notice the sensations and emotions and start to feel, and like working through my sexuality was a really beautiful way of doing that. And so there was quite a period of time where I was just reacquainting myself with my own body, my needs, my orgasm, my pleasure. And, you know, it really I needed that time to be by myself. And now I think I was saying to you the other night where it was like, I feel like I'm opening up to a relationship again in my world. And that also is awakening, like my thought process of sex with another person. But again, like you, it's very much this question of like, does this person meet my standard for who I want to allow into my body? Do they meet my standard of who I want them to be? And like that awareness and that the holding of those standards actually has just made this situation. But I don't feel like a lack of connection with my sexuality, but it's simply a lack of sex with other people. Yeah. But I'm curious how you feel about it, because I know that you are somebody that's more connected to your sexuality.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of sexual energy, and I feel very connected to my body. You know, like even in the play parties, I think in the last couple of play parties, I've allowed myself to play a lot more. I will say that like what I notice is even this. I got a Chinate song massage from Jasmine, like this Chinese stomach massage that helps with processing emotions. And since that massage, I started to feel like basically I could feel when she was doing it, like pain, like tentacles of pain going up to my heart. Like it was really releasing stuff in my heart chakra. And I feel like since then I realized like, oh, I had a blockage around connection because I felt unsafe. Like the last man I put my heart to, my body to, was like cheating on me, you know, and like had leaky sexual energy. So even when we were together, he was always checking out other women, and he was like, oh, this is fine, we're in some sort of open relationship. Like, you guys, open relationship doesn't mean leaky sexual energy. And it doesn't mean unsafety. That's like some of the core things. Like if you are in a relationship that feels unsafe to you, like just because it has the classification of open does not mean that that is a healthy relationship. Like safety is core. Stop everything and renegotiate. Hard red line. Hard red line. And so, and I think I was also in the people pleasing. I wanted my freedom. So I thought this is what I wanted. I think a lot of people are about to go through this because openness and polyamory is starting to become more mainstream. And so suddenly people think that openness equals enlightenment. Whatever. Spiritual enlightenment, whatever, and freedom and like sovereignty. But actually, if you do it in the right way, it can mean those things. But it needs to come. The main thing is that it needs to feel safe in your body. Absolutely. If it does not feel safe in your body, stop everything and just stop doing it. And something I really stress is that if you do not choose an open relationship for yourself independently of your partner's needs, desires, and wants, then you do not choose it. And that also needs to be like an awareness that people hold, because I think there can be this kind of pressure. I mean, we live on this beautiful paradise island, which is so amazing and beautiful, but there can sometimes be this like sensation that like everybody should be open and that should be the relationship dynamic for everyone, and that makes you more enlightened. It makes you like more spiritual or more evolved or whatever. And like, you know, actually I think the most evolved thing you can do is be true to yourself and actually say like, actually my desire is for a really beautiful monogamous relationship where we are like a motherfucking power couple. Like we are so loving, so intimate. We're building something huge together. And like, we don't have time for some like random connections outside. And like, if that's what's true for you, if you're honoring that, you are doing yourself the biggest service. There's no service in being in relationships where you're unsafe. And that's just like the hard line that has to exist. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest opportunity for growth or like challenge in a relationship is like you have to be really fucking honest with yourself and authentic to your own needs. And if you're in a people-pleasing mode and you're just going along with it because this is what your partner said they wanted and you just don't want to lose them, you have already lost. Because the biggest relationship is the one that you have with yourself. Absolutely. So if you are self-abandoning yourself and your needs, then the whole relationship's already fucked from the beginning. It doesn't matter if he goes off and has good sex, or you go off and have good sex, like you're already, it's already the beginning of the end.
Yeah, you've lost. If you lose yourself in your relationship, you are just like losing the most important thing. And it's also interesting because because as women we are programmed to have that people pleasing like aspect of ourselves just built in because of the society that we live in. It's like sometimes it's very invisible that you don't actually know. Like sometimes you might even think like maybe I could like I spent a long time in my relationship trying to convince myself I wanted it.
An open relationship.
Yeah.
And you actually didn't.
I absolutely did not. I knew from the moment, like I remember the day that my ex-partner said to me, we literally had just done this lunch. We had gone over to his workspace and we had made like lunch for his whole office. So like 15 people or something. We made like a green curry and we were like so lovey-dovey. We weren't seeing each other at the time. We were just like at the beginning kind of like flirtation stage of our relationship because we were friends beforehand. And after we made this beautiful lunch for everybody, it was so coupley. I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Like we're going to be this amazing power couple and it's going to be so beautiful. Look, he's a cook and like we can do things together. It's so beautiful. It was like, oh my God, the beginning of my love story. And on the way home, on the walk home, I got a text and it just said, how do you feel about open relationships? And like my heart just sank into the feet, I guess. Because I just knew in that moment that I was like, I don't want that. That has nothing to do with the vision that I hold for my life. And I don't know if I had the prophecy that I was going to abandon myself in that moment, but I know that I didn't say in a text message back, like, that's not for me. That's definitely not what I said. And we went on to date for 3 years and have this be one of the core things that came up in our relationship over and over and over. And yeah, just 3 years of abandoning myself, which is...
So you knew from the beginning this is what he wanted?
Yeah, I did. I thought that I had a judgment that he wanted that because he was broken. He wanted that because he had never been loved right. He had been cheated on. He had problems with his mom. Like, I had these judgments that like my love would save him.
Yeah, which, I mean, some of those could be true, but it's also like not your job to fix someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the version of myself I was then, she wanted to say, she thought that the way that she could be useful to somebody was to save them from themselves, because that was mirroring the dynamic I had with my mom. So it made a lot of sense. Like the person I chose was the exact right person. And they caused a lot of pain for me. Our relationship caused a lot of pain, but they ultimately brought me to this incredible life because I chose to do the healing after that. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it's so incredible because sometimes those moments of your life where you're like looking back and you're like, holy fuck, like it hurt so much. And that choice I made was so wrong. And like, oh my God, how could I have done that to myself? And like, ultimately, if you get to the point in your life where you look at those situations that are happening in your life and you say, this ends here. And then you do the things that you need to do in order to make new choices. You do the healing, you come back to your body, you learn who the fuck you are. You like completely get brave and bold and confident and you reinvent yourself. Then you'd make new choices. Like, I don't hold any animosity towards my ex-partner. I would never say I regret our relationship because it brought me here. Like, and what a beautiful thing that is.
How long did it take you to get to the point where you don't? I would love to get to that point. Like, how many years?
Let's see. Like, so when I broke up with my ex, we were probably in contact for 6 months, going on 8 months, where we were kind of doing that thing of like back and forth and like maybe hanging out again and then not hanging out again. So like there was a big period of like us being still in contact and us still holding, you know, some kind of flame. But like I really saw those patterns repeating when we were still in contact. And so, you know, when we finally, you know, the moment when I really like hair, the moment where I would say that I really let go of my partner in this way that people think it's going to be this momentous moment, I got on a call with a coach who would later become my mentor. And when I heard her talking about all of the possibility that was out there for love and sex and relationships and like what you could have in the world and what you could create, I literally just got so, I don't know if excited was the right word, but like inspired that that might be possible for me. And it felt very tenuous at the time. Like in those moments, I think I thought, maybe it's possible for me. And when I got off that call, or when I was on that call and I decided that this was the coach for me, this was the training for me, then in that moment, there was this moment where I just like, I saw so clearly that the life that I wanted, the relationship that I wanted, the love that I wanted could not be possible if I was still in any way choosing my ex. And it was literally like in that moment, it was just done. It was over.
So you chose yourself.
I chose myself in that moment in a way that I never thought possible, because it was a fucking huge leap to make this investment and make this move and do this healing, like in a way that felt super uncomfortable. But like that was the first letting go. And I think the second letting go was, you know, over time, as you make those choices, as you make the big steps in your life, as you've been making, that one day you kind of wake up and you're like, well, fuck, like I would not be sitting here without that relationship. I would not be sitting in this beautiful villa and doing this work that I'm doing and like recording this podcast, like whatever it is. And like, I really feel like there's just a moment where you wake up and you're like, fucking thank you. Thank you for that. And maybe it is years until you truly feel that in your heart, like where you're not just like, it's good. He gave me what I needed. Like, but you actually feel it.
I have moments.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I do.
Glimpses and
Yeah.
And then there's also other days where it's still so painful.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if a lot of people will understand this, because I've had a lot of relationships in my life, you know, and this one just feels different because it felt like we were actually family.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just what we should have been. Was
Yeah.
just like friends, family vibes, and not had a romantic relationship. But then, you know, of course, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't have had all this growth.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. But I think there's a part of me that just really misses him still as family, and I'm like so angry that he fucked it up so bad and hasn't taken responsibility so that we could like, you know, go back to that.
Yeah.
Like, the people that know us as a couple and like knew us long term, they're like, it's just so weird that you guys aren't even talking right now, you know, like knowing how much we loved each other. And I think there's also this whole other aspect of like, we were leading the German community together, and like they're kind of like our kids, you know. It felt like we would have nights where a lot of nights where we would sit and talk about our community and see how we would like brainstorm how we could support them, celebrate what was happening. It really felt like they were our kids, like our spiritual children. I'm not saying like kids in a negative way, just like we loved them, we wanted to show up for them, we cared about them, you know? And I really miss that, you know. I miss that like partnership of like, we're doing this together. And from what I understand from my friends who are still in contact with him, that he also misses this, you know? Like he's like living in a tent right now, you know? Like it's like there's very separate timelines. I just want to put out there that I'm very grateful for the timeline I have chosen, the life that I have chosen. And I think like in the end, I don't think we were meant to be together. Like I don't want to live in a tent, you know? Like I like my villa.
I'm curious, when you think back to your relationship, about what you miss, does it feel like it's intrinsically connected to who your ex-partner was? Or was it more the thing that you were building together that you feel the loss of?
You really feel into that. I think it's what we were building together.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, like from a human connection, he really is super immature. At least in the last incarnation that I knew of him. And so, when it came to day-to-day life, we were really good at like, you know, taking care of the house stuff. We were on a good team. But when it came to like our interpersonal relationship, like he would say even like, I'm doing my best to catch up with you emotionally. Your maturity. And he just wasn't that mature. And so I felt really lonely a lot of times. But when it came to our community, we both were super passionate about like building our community and, you know, the spiritual mission that we felt like and I still feel that I have a soul calling to like help lead in some way people to wake the fuck up. You know, and like step into their own personal sovereignty.
Yeah.
And I know that he feels the same way, and like I think we're just choosing to go about it in very different ways now.
For sure. Can I reflect something to you?
Yeah.
When I hear you say that, it feels almost like this relationship was maybe not chosen for you. When I hear you say, like, I felt like I was lacking in terms of the actual connection, like the feeding of my soul was not happening, but I was feeding the community. And like, I know that's a big part of your mission, being somebody that creates in the world and gives and creates community and like brings people together. And so I just wonder if there's like a part of that connection that felt like you almost needed to sacrifice yourself a bit for the greater good of the community.
Yeah, I mean, I resonate with that. Like, because back then there was this momentum. Like, I was really in my spirituality. I was really like getting all the downloads.
Yeah.
And it just felt like there's so many stories I could say that support this, that were like showing me that this was the relationship that I was meant to be having.
Yeah.
And I just followed all of them. I just like, full on 100% went into it. And I think he did too. And we just were like, let's do this. And then it just, I think in the first while, we really learned a lot from each other. We really did a lot of amazing things in the community. And then it just wasn't serving us anymore. Yeah. Neither of us were growing in the way that we wanted to grow.
Totally.
And I think I have a lot of feelings about this, and this is why since the relationship I've started to really focus on what I need for myself, what I need for my own personal sovereignty first before when I'm serving the community. And I think some people in the community have said, I know that this is what my ex has said, Brittnee has gone into her ego and she only cares about material things now, and like, she lost the mission. And it's like, no, I didn't lose the mission. If anything, one extreme bears another extreme. I was too giving before. I was sabotaging myself and what my needs were. And now I'm course correcting and making sure that I have my own financial stability and I have my own life stability, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing in my life, and I'm enjoying where I live. And it's like, I'm going to always be giving to the collective.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I need to do it in a way where I'm having fun too.
Absolutely. And I also think that there's also this kind of thing that the world will tell us that money is a bad thing, but money in the hands of powerful, beautiful, like women that have good values and direction in the world and want beautiful things for the earth and for the planet and for the people in it, there is not a dollar that I would not put in the hands of that woman. You know what I mean? So like, don't let the world tell you you're bad if you want money, because money is what allows you to live as yourself. It allows you to be more of yourself, to do more of the good that you want to do in the world. And there is nothing that you should feel ashamed about for that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to play the game of life and make the money right now, because I know that every single amount of money I'm going to make is I'm putting it towards the mission.
Absolutely.
Like I still, it's like, it didn't go away. I still have this
of course
vision of a new earth community and us all living together and growing our own food and like having this worldwide community where we're all connected online. And also, in order to do that, you need money to fund these things. Like,
we live in a physical world. Like,
it's like, hello, I'm not going to wait for a man to come save me. I'm going to go get that.
Me either, girl.
Okay, I think we're at almost an hour. Should we end this? I want to jump in the pool.
Yeah, me too.
Do you have anything last words?
Any
Last words before we jump in the pool?
It's like,
Let's go.
my friend would always get mad when when an animal would go to their forever home because she felt it sounded like death. So like, it seems a little fitting. You're like, any last words? Last words about what, darling?
Anything. Sex, love, relationships.
Don't let anybody tell you that you need to be a different version of yourself to be in a beautiful relationship. You can have any relationship you want, but the way that you get there is by coming back to yourself and knowing who the fuck you are, loving who the fuck you are, staying with who the fuck you are, and prioritizing yourself. And that is going to be the most important thing that you can do on your healing journey. So I just really welcome you to always check back in with yourself if you're in a moment of any of the struggles that we've alluded to in this podcast, to just come back home to yourself, because that's where everything you need is.
That's beautiful. And I just want to put
Ooh,
I feel so ready.
girl.
Girl, I want to have sex.
Was I telling you? Sorry, we're gonna keep going for a second. I was telling you that I also felt like this energy for a relationship has been opening up for me, and I did a ritual at one of the retreats that I was helping at. So I was assisting at this retreat, and it was at a place called Dragon Soul here on the island, and it's so beautiful. But on the last day of this tantric retreat that we were at, we went up to the Dragon Rock. And you go up there, and we did a little bit of embodiment, like getting into our bodies as 3 women. And we called in our dragon, which is you calling in your love, your life partner. And you basically, should I say the actual word? I don't know if I'm like breaking confidentiality or something. So we stood up at this rock, and it has this beautiful view over the water. It's so incredible. Like you just see jungle and then water for as far as the eye can see. You have this giant rock behind you, and you go up to the edge of the kind of cliff face that you're on, and you go, "Ai gai gai," and you literally hold the guy for like as long as you can, and you're doing this at the top of your fucking lungs, and you just go "Ai gai gai," and you do that 3 times, and that's the call to the dragon, so that your love can walk into your life. And so
What does the dragon represent?
the love of your life.
So that is the love of your life.
Yeah.
Like energetically.
Yeah. You're calling in the energy of the dragon. Yeah. So I feel you. I'm like, I'm ready too, girl.
Let's do this. And I think it's important as us women to also check the vibe of the people, especially if we've had
1000%.
toxic relationships in the past.
Oh, 100%.
I know that this is, potentially a blind spot for me. So even like on Monday, this guy that I'm seeing, like we went to the dome and went to the sauna place, and like a lot of my girlfriends were there.
Yeah.
And they were all like interrogating him. And I was like, I was really into it. I would like to do that for the guy that's interested in you.
Absolutely. I think we also had a conversation. Do you remember that guy at the, when we went to Wynam that day?
Yes.
And there was that guy that I was kind of flirting with, and then later on you were asking about him, and I was like, actually, I really was feeling his energy, but then like the way that he showed up afterwards left me a little cold. Also, some of the things he said that night left me feeling a little like, that's not something I want in my future partner. And there's a part of me that wanted to move forward with that a little bit, like kind of like, oh, but I find him really attractive, and like he's really cute, and like the vibes were there. But when I actually sat down with myself after that night, even though it was such a beautiful night, I really felt like
We had a lot of fun.
what a crazy day. Sorry. I just really was feeling into like some of the things he had shown me about himself, and I was like, he's just not the guy. And like I love having that new connection to that awareness of like, when somebody's just not for you, if you're connected to yourself, you can feel that. And like, I know that the past version of me probably would have been like, trying to like make that happen a little bit. And so like, make him be a different version of himself in my head. And like, that just wasn't the case. So, but I love that thing that you say of like, it's beautiful to have friends around you, especially girlfriends that are on your wavelength, share your values, that really can be with you in those moments of meeting somebody, because it allows you that like, just that space for reflection. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, Brittnee, no, he's not for you if you feel like he is, but like that moment of reflection of like, how do you feel about this? Or like, what is the vibe when this is the situation, and like, it's so powerful.
I mean, my other girlfriends told me about this guy I'm seeing now. King.
Blunt as fuck.
They're like, but if you want to have fun, he's really hot. And I feel like I kind of know this.
Yeah.
But there is something in the connection there.
Yeah.
And I am excited to explore that, and it feels fun.
Do you think he listens to the podcast?
I mean, if he's listening deep in, then he can.
If he's listening this deep in, maybe he is your king.
I mean, I gave him homework. He's going to read Brettnee Brown.
Amazing.
Okay, let's go.
All right, my love. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is the first of many episodes. I'm
Love
sure we'll do
it.
together.
Yes.
It was just so, I feel like I blinked and it's been an hour.
I know.
There's
Same.
so much more I wanted to talk about.
Same. I also need to have you on my podcast.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Also has a project. You want to tell them what it is?
I have a podcast. It's called Heartbreak, Alchemy with Wolfe, and it is talking about love, sex, relationships, healing, personal development, like any of these nuanced issues that you can think of in these situations. And I love it so much. I mean, I think we both geek out on relationships and love and healing. The healed relationships, the healed love.
Yeah, but it's also the juicy journey to get there.
For sure.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Too, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that's where all the growth is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. We will see you guys in the next episode.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Love you too. Where are our dogs?
Smacked each other's faces. Our dogs are like, let's go play.
Yeah, I actually put Sita in the pool the other day. She hated it.
I love it. Okay, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Talk to you soon.